My name is Amelia Martinez. I'm 27 years old, and for most of my life, I didn't make a single real decision on my own. Not because I couldn't, because I was never allowed to. If you've ever felt like your life was planned for you, like every choice you made somehow wasn't really yours, then you'll understand this story better than anyone. And before I go on, one quick thing. If stories like this pull you in, if you recognize even a part of yourself in them, take a second to subscribe, like, or just stay until the end. It genuinely helps, and more importantly, it tells me I'm not the only one who lived through something like this. Because what happened to me didn't look like abuse. It looked like love. That was the problem. My mother used to say she knew me better than I knew myself. People thought it was sweet. She's so involved. She just wants the best for you. You're lucky to have a mother like that. I heard that my entire life, and for a long time, I believed it too. When I was 6, I wanted to paint. Not just casually, I loved it. Colors made sense to me in a way words didn't. I could sit for hours, completely quiet, completely focused. My mother signed me up for piano instead. "You have long fingers," she said. "You're meant for this." I remember sitting at that piano bench, my feet not even touching the ground, staring at black and white keys that felt wrong. But I learned, because she stayed in the room every single lesson, watching, correcting, smiling when I did it right, frowning when I didn't. By the time I was 10, people called me talented. By the time I was 12, I stopped drawing completely. Not because I didn't want to, because there was no space left for it. In middle school, I wanted to join track. I liked running. It made me feel free, like no one could catch up to me. Not even her voice in my head. She laughed when I told her, "You? Running? You're not built for that." The next day, she signed me up for debate club. "She's very articulate," she told the teacher. "She just doesn't realize it yet." I didn't argue. I never argued, because arguing wasn't just disagreement in our house. It was disrespect. And disrespect meant silence, cold shoulders, disappointment that felt heavier than any punishment. So I learned early, it was easier to agree, even when it didn't feel like me. High school was where things became precise, controlled, curated. My clothes, chosen together. My friends, approved. My schedule, planned weeks in advance. If I liked something she didn't forbid it. That would have been too obvious. Instead, she'd tilt her head slightly and say, "Are you sure that fits you? Not the clothes. Me." And suddenly, I wasn't sure anymore. That's how she did it. She didn't control my actions. She controlled my confidence in my own choices. So I stopped trusting myself and started trusting her instead. By the time I got into college, everything about me looked perfect. Political science major, internships lined up, clean, professional image, no distractions, no drama, exactly the daughter she always described to other people. "This is who she's always been," she'd say. And I'd smile, because correcting her felt impossible, because somewhere along the way I stopped knowing what I've always been actually meant. The first crack happened during my second year. It was small, almost nothing. I met someone. His name was Daniel. He wasn't impressive in the way my mother defined impressive. No polished resume. No big ambitions she could proudly repeat to her friends. But he listened. Really listened. One night, we were sitting on the floor of his apartment, eating takeout, when he asked me something no one had ever asked before. "What do you actually want?" I laughed. Not because it was funny, because I didn't have an answer. And that scared me more than anything. When I told my mother about him, she smiled. Too quickly, too politely. "Oh, that's nice," she said. "What does he do?" I told her. Her smile didn't change, but something behind her eyes did. "I just don't want you to limit yourself," she said. There it was. Not a no, not disapproval, just doubt, carefully placed, like always. Within 2 weeks, things started shifting. Daniel became a distraction, then a phase. then someone who doesn't understand your potential. And the worst part, it didn't come from her directly. It came from me, her voice, just inside my head now, questioning, reframing, undermining, until I started pulling away from him. Not because he changed, because I did. He noticed. Of course he did. "You're different," he said one night, "like you're checking with someone before you speak." I froze, because that's exactly what it felt like I wasn't alone in my own thoughts. We didn't last much longer after that. Not because we fought, because I became distant, controlled again, safe, exactly who I was supposed to be. After he left, my mother hugged me. "I know it's hard," she said softly, "but some people just aren't right for you." And for the first time in my life, something didn't sit right. Not fully, not clearly, but enough. That night, I sat in my room and tried to answer Daniel's question again. "What do you actually want?" And for the first time, I didn't reach for her voice. I sat in the silence, uncomfortable, unfamiliar. Mine. I didn't realize it then, but that moment, that tiny hesitation, that was the beginning of everything falling apart. Not my life, her control over it. And she felt it before I did. She always did. That was the problem, because a week later, she made a decision for me that changed everything. And this time, I didn't agree. A week later, my mother called me on a Tuesday morning. Not unusual. What was unusual was her tone. Bright, certain, already decided. "I spoke to someone for you," she said, like she was telling me she'd made a reservation. I didn't answer right away. That pause again, that small, growing space where her voice used to come first. "About what?" I asked. "A position," she said, "at a firm downtown. Political consulting. Exactly where you need to be." Need, not want, never want. I hadn't applied anywhere yet. I hadn't even decided what direction I wanted after graduation. For the first time in my life, I was actually thinking about it. Slowly, carefully, alone. And she felt that. Of course she did. "I already set up an interview," she continued. "Friday, 10 a.m. I told them you'd be perfect." Of course she did, because in her world, I already was. A finished product, packaged, ready. "I didn't ask for that," I said. The silence on the other end was immediate. Sharp, not loud, worse, controlled. "I know you didn't," she replied calmly. "That's why I did it." And there it was again, that quiet, suffocating logic, as if my independence was a flaw she needed to correct. "I want to figure out myself," I said. It didn't even sound like me. My voice felt unfamiliar, unapproved. Another pause. Longer this time, then softer, dangerously soft. "Amelia," she said, "you don't have time to experiment. You've worked too hard to make a mistake now. Not fail, not be unhappy. Make a mistake," which meant choosing something she wouldn't choose. "I'm not making a mistake," I said. My heart was racing, not because I was scared of her, because I was doing something new. I was disagreeing. "You don't know that," she replied. And suddenly I felt it. That old shift, that familiar pull, doubt, not about the job, about myself. That's how she always won, not by controlling the situation, by making me question my ability to handle it. But this time, I didn't let it settle. "I'm not going to the interview," I said. The words landed between us, like something fragile and irreversible. The silence that followed wasn't just silence. It was recalculation. "Okay," she said finally, just like that. No argument, no pressure, no disappointment, just okay. And that scared me more than anything she had ever said, because my mother didn't let things go. She repositioned. The next few days were quiet, too quiet. She still called, still asked about my classes, still sounded like herself. But something underneath it all had shifted, like she was watching, Waiting. On Thursday night, I got an email. Subject line: Interview confirmation, Martinez. I stared at it. I hadn't applied, hadn't responded, hadn't even considered it after that call. I opened it. Everything was there. Time, location, details, even a note at the bottom. Looking forward to meeting you, as discussed with your mother. My stomach dropped. She didn't argue. She didn't convince me. She went around me. I called her immediately. She picked up on the first ring. I told you I wasn't going, I said. I know, she replied calmly. Then why did you? Because you will, she interrupted gently. Not forceful, not aggressive, certain. I won't, I said. This time, stronger. A pause, then a small exhale, almost like disappointment, but not in me, in the situation. You're overwhelmed, she said. That's all this is. No, that wasn't it. But the way she said it made it sound reasonable. You're scared to make the wrong choice, she continued. So you're avoiding making one at all. That almost felt true, and that's what made it dangerous. I'm not scared, I said, quieter now, less certain. I know you think that, she replied. And just like that, she was inside my head again. That night, I didn't sleep. Not because of the interview, because of the realization. It wasn't about the job. It was never about the job. It was about something much bigger, something I had never questioned before. I didn't know how to make decisions, not real ones, not without her voice guiding, correcting, filtering. And now that I was trying to, everything felt unstable. That was her system. That was what she built. Not control through force, control through dependence. If I didn't trust myself, I would always default to her. And for the first time in my life, I saw it clearly, fully. The next morning I got dressed, put on the outfit she would have chosen. Neat, neutral, professional. I looked in the mirror, and for a second, I didn't recognize the person staring back. Not because she looked different, because she looked exactly the same. That was the problem. I picked up my phone, opened the email, and clicked decline. No explanation, no apology, no second thought. My hand was shaking, but I did it. Then I called her. I'm not going, I said. This time, there was no pause. I know, she replied, and something in her voice had changed. Not calm, not patient, cold. You just made a very serious mistake, she said. And for the first time, it didn't feel like concern. It felt like a warning. Maybe, I said. Silence. Then slowly, we'll talk about this later. She hung up, and in that moment, I understood something I had never understood before. I didn't break her plan. I stepped outside of it. And she wasn't going to let that happen again. Not without a response. I just didn't know yet what she was about to do next. But I was about to find out. The response didn't come immediately. That was the first sign something was wrong. My mother didn't react impulsively. She didn't argue, didn't explode, didn't chase. She calculated. So when 2 days passed with nothing but short, neutral messages, I knew she was building something. It started small. A message from my aunt. Hey, is everything okay with you? I stared at it longer than I should have. Yeah, why? There was a pause. Then, your mom said you've been going through something. Just wanted to check in. Going through something. That phrase. Vague, concerned, harmless, but loaded. I'm fine, I typed. Then deleted it. Rewrote it. I'm good. Just busy. She didn't respond after that. That same evening, my cousin called. We hadn't spoken in months. Hey, he said too casually. Just wanted to hear your voice. I smiled slightly. Since when? A small laugh. Then, I don't know, your mom sounded worried. There it was again. Worried. I'm not. I started then stopped. Because suddenly, I wasn't sure what I was defending. I'm fine. I said finally. Okay, he replied quickly. Too quickly. That's good. But something in his tone didn't match the words. Like he didn't fully believe me. By the third day, I understood. She wasn't confronting me. She was reframing me. Not directly, socially, quietly. I wasn't independent. I was unstable. I wasn't making my own decisions. I was going through something. And the worst part, it sounded reasonable because she never lied outright. She just adjusted the interpretation. I didn't realize how far it had gone until Monday. I walked into one of my classes, sat down and noticed two girls glance at me, then look away quickly, whispering. That had never happened before. After class, one of them approached me. Hey, she said gently, if you ever need notes or anything, I know it's been a lot for you lately. My chest tightened. What do you mean? She hesitated, then softened her voice. Your mom talked to Professor Klein. She was just concerned. Everything went quiet. Professor Klein? I turned around and walked straight out of the building. I didn't think, didn't process. I just moved. I called her. She answered. What did you do? I asked. Amelia, she said calmly. Lower your voice. What did you tell people? I told them the truth, she replied. No, I said sharper now. You told them something. A pause. Then softly, I told them you've been overwhelmed, that you're making decisions that don't reflect who you really are. That sentence, carefully constructed, impossible to attack directly. You had no right, I said. I have every right, she replied. I'm your mother. Not loud, not angry, certain. You're making me look unstable, I said. No, she corrected gently. You're acting unstable. There it was. Not an accusation, a definition, and definitions spread. I declined a job interview, I said. That's it. You're rejecting opportunities without a plan, she replied. You're isolating yourself. You ended your relationship. You're pulling away from structure. She listed it like evidence, each piece technically true, but completely reframed. You built that structure, I said. And it worked, she replied immediately. Silence. Because again, that almost felt true. That's how deep it went. Even now, even seeing it, even feeling it, part of me still questioned myself. You don't get to decide who I am, I said. Another pause. Longer this time. Then, I already did. The line went quiet, and for the first time, I felt it clearly. This wasn't about control anymore. It was about identity. She didn't just guide my life. She defined it. And if I stepped outside that definition, she would correct it. Publicly. I didn't cry. I didn't panic. I sat down on the edge of my bed and just thought. Not about how to fix it. Not about how to fight her. About something else. Something new. If she built my identity, and she was now using that identity against me, then maybe I didn't need to destroy her control. Maybe I just needed to become something she couldn't control, something she didn't understand, something she couldn't redefine. And for the first time in my life, I didn't react. I planned. The next morning, I called her. My voice was calm, soft, controlled. I've been thinking, I said. A pause. Then carefully, okay, you were right. I continued. Silence. I've been overwhelmed, I said. I think I just needed direction again. Another pause. Then I heard it. That small shift in her breathing. Relief. I'm glad you said that, she replied. Of course she was, because in her mind, I was coming back. I want your help, I added. That sealed it. Yes, she said. Of course. That's what I'm here for. I closed my eyes, just for a second, because that was the moment everything changed. Not when I resisted her, when I stopped resisting, on the surface, because this time, I wasn't following her plan. I was stepping inside it. On purpose. And she didn't see it. She thought she had me again. She didn't realize I was about to become exactly who she always wanted, just not in the way she expected. And when it was over, she wouldn't be able to recognize me at all. From the outside, everything looked normal again. That was the point. I started saying yes to everything. Her suggestions, her corrections, her plans, the internship she found, I accepted it. The networking events, I showed up. The people she approved of, I smiled, listened, adapted. Perfectly. Within weeks, the shift was noticeable. Not just to her, to everyone. She's back. I heard my aunt say during one family dinner. My mother didn't respond. She didn't need to. The look on her face said everything. Pride, relief, ownership. Because in her mind, she had fixed me, and I let her believe that. I played the role exactly how she built it. Polished, controlled, predictable. I spoke the way she taught me, moved the way she expected, made decisions that aligned perfectly with her version of me. But this time, I was paying attention, not to myself, to her, to what she valued, to what she needed, to what made her feel in control. Because control isn't just about power, it's about dependence. And for the first time, she was the one becoming dependent on me. At the internship, I didn't just do well, I became essential. Not loud, not aggressive, precise, reliable. Someone people trusted, someone people came to. And slowly, without making it obvious, I started becoming the bridge between people, between conversations, between decisions. The kind of person who hears everything, knows everything, and says just enough. Exactly the kind of person my mother respected. Exactly the kind of person she couldn't control. At home, nothing changed. That was the illusion. She still asked questions, still guided, still adjusted my choices with those subtle, careful phrases. And I still agreed, smiled, followed. But now, I understood the system. And once you understand something, you can step outside of it. Even while standing inside, the real shift happened 3 months later. There was a dinner. Important. One of those carefully curated evenings my mother loved. Colleagues, friends, people who mattered. The kind of room where perception is everything. I arrived exactly on time, dressed exactly how she would have chosen. Calm, composed, perfect. She introduced me to everyone like she always did. "This is Amelia," she said. "She's exactly where she's supposed to be now." That line, that quiet claim, I smiled, because for the first time, it wasn't true. Dinner went smoothly. Conversations flowed. Everything felt controlled. Until it didn't. At some point, one of the guests turned to me. "So what made you choose this path?" he asked. A simple question, but the room shifted slightly, because everyone knew the answer, or thought they did. I looked at him, then, slowly, at her. She was watching me. Of course she was. Waiting for the version of me she built. And for a second, I almost gave it to her. Almost. Then I said, "I didn't." The room went quiet. Not loud, just enough. The kind of silence people notice without reacting to. "What do you mean?" he asked, smiling lightly. I held his gaze. "Calm, steady. I said. This path wasn't something I chose at first." Across the table, I felt her, still, listening, carefully. But I stayed long enough. I continued, to understand it, to learn it, to see how everything actually works. I paused, and now I choose it. The tension broke. People nodded, smiled, impressed. It sounded like growth, maturity, clarity, exactly what they expected. But that wasn't the point. The point was what I didn't say. I didn't give her credit. I didn't reference her. I didn't confirm her narrative. I removed her. without challenging her. And that was something she couldn't correct, because nothing I said was wrong. And that's when it started. Not a confrontation, not a scene, a shift. Subtle, quiet, permanent. After that night, people stopped going through her to reach me. They came to me directly, for opinions, for decisions, for clarity. And she noticed. Of course she did. At first, she adjusted, tried to reinsert herself, clarify things, speak for me, but it didn't work anymore. Because I didn't react, didn't resist, didn't correct her. I just answered for myself. Every time, calmly, confidently, without asking, without checking, without her. The final moment came quietly. Like everything else, we were alone, in the kitchen, late. She was watching me again, but this time, it was different. Not guiding, not correcting, trying to understand. "You've changed," she said. I didn't deny it. "I know," I replied. A pause. "You don't need me the same way anymore," she said. Not a question, a realization. I looked at her, really looked at her, for the first time, not as authority, not as control, just as a person. "No," I said. Silence. And then, something I never expected. She didn't argue, didn't correct, didn't reframe, because she couldn't. There was nothing left to redefine. I hadn't fought her, hadn't exposed her, hadn't destroyed anything. I just stopped being the version of me she created and became someone she couldn't shape anymore. And that was the one thing she never prepared for. If you've made it this far, you already understand. Some control doesn't look like control. Some manipulation doesn't sound like manipulation. And sometimes, the strongest move isn't fighting back. It's stepping outside the version of you someone else built and becoming someone they no longer recognize. If this story hit you, even a little, like the video, subscribe, or just leave a comment. I read them, all of them, and maybe someone out there needs to hear your story too.